Yes, great. And I'm going to record it too. Yes.
I've got some pictures. I'll send to you.
David is on my phone.
Good job.
I just want to say thanks.
And then I did that.
Okay, because you always do.
I got his email address so I can send him stuff.
It shows that it's checked, so, but I can't see it. I guess I'm looking for... He set up whatever he set up, so... That I have the tab right here, right? But I can't see it. You know? Hey, Carl. I'm fine. You gotta do what?
She told me to say yours for somebody with a cane, so maybe it was you.
Thank you. I found it.
Right where it was supposed to be.
Right there. I'm going to get rid of it for right now, so I can see people are
If she moves me again, I'll be over there helping you with the computer.
And then one more lady with a cane. I told her to say in the seat for her. She's over there working, man. I couldn't believe it. She's in her car.
Really?
This guy is so
like, I'm not a power. I'm not a power. They disconnected the power of that.
All you
You
need.
need power.
Now you got power.
How are we supposed to get through there? Can we get through there? Where did she say that there was a room? You can let you hear Sharon, do you want me to sit here, like if I sit by the chair?
Is that going to block you?
Call for a nationwide strike.
As long as I got room to get through.
Call for a nationwide strike.
I don't think that's a key, man.
I'm speaking here. Test, test, test.
You can put the chair here.
Test, 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 test. Good morning, everyone. So I just received an informational point that if you are parked in the McDonald's parking lot, they said they will be towing your vehicle. So please make sure you are not parked in the McDonald's parking lot.
Ask him who he is.
Anna Paulina Luna refuses to meet with her constituents. Anna Paulina Luna refuses to meet with her constituents. To that, David and I say, to hell with her, we'll talk to you. We'll listen to you. And we will fight for you. This fires us up. This fires us up because I've heard the president say the Democrats have just gone away. This doesn't look like you've gone anywhere. And I'm willing to bet this isn't just Democrats here. Because we didn't invite only Democrats. We invited Republicans, we invited independents, we invited people who love America. That's what this is about. thank the folks. We had 5 days to put this together. Imagine if we had a week. So I want to thank Indivisible Florida for the 13th Congressional District. West Pinellas Now, the Democratic Women's Club of Upper Pinellas, the Pinellas Young Democrats, and the Pinellas Democratic Party. We're going to take your questions in a moment, but I want to tell you why I'm here. Because small victories will lead to big victories. Small victories will lead to big victories. And I want you to think about, we're in the home of spring training. I was a college athlete. That's how I was able to be the first in my family.
It's not coming out of here.
Son of a cop.
Not coming out of here now.
4 boys, made ceramics, wedding cakes, and ran a very large, unlicensed daycare facility. But they worked their asses off. So
Not coming out of here.
We have to get off the screen.
College coach would always
They might
tell
not
me,
let us back in there.
Yeah.
every time we started the season, think about what you want. The
Somebody's
last-
got their audio on.
the last
We
moment
do.
of that game to feel.
Please mute
Right
yourself.
now,
You're
for our
ruining
democracy,
this.
We know what it felt like in November. So as we start this season of democracy, that'll take us to November 4, 2026. Today is about you thinking about what do you want that day to look like. To me, it's a day of celebration. It's a day of accountability. It's a day of redemption for our democracy. It's a day where we cut our time in hell in half by winning the midterm. And so we will be driven by our values of hard work, where hard work means in a free market economy, we all work hard, do better, dream bigger, and that we reject a free-for-all broliarchy economy. It means we respect our veterans. This president has fired more veterans than any president ever. It means that we respect our law enforcement officers. They work hard to protect us, so you don't put back into the community 1,600 people who violently attack them. And we are guardians of your health care security. Those are the values that I believe in, that we believe in, regardless of what party you're from. Those are just American values. My partner today in this is my friend, former colleague, representative to this area, former Republican colleague in Congress, now independent. I'll introduce him in a moment, but also with us today, some other former electeds or candidates that I want you to know about. David's going to introduce most of the Florida electeds. 2 friends of mine, former CFO for the state, Alex Singh. Alex, and badass mom and fighter, Whitney Fox. David.
Hey, is this guy phenomenal or what? I thought we were all showing up and trying to save the country. I think we're just showing up to see Eric Swalwell. This is not a pairing we would have seen 6 or 8 years ago, but these aren't the politics of 6 or 8 years ago. The politics are different now and the stakes are so much higher. We do not make America great by abandoning our veterans, by abandoning our seniors. We do not make America great with a xenophobic attack on immigration and on immigrants sitting right here in this country. We don't make America great by attacking the judiciary and attacking the press and attacking anybody that's a critic. And we certainly don't make America great by using the powers of the White House to bend people to their knees. I will tell you what is obvious in this room right now. Nobody in this room is going to bend to their knees. We have an opportunity, as Eric said, in 2026 and 2028 to use the one lever of democracy that is available to everybody, to inject accountability, to have someone like Eric Swalwell calling Elon Musk and calling Howard Lutnick and calling everybody else in this administration to a hearing table in front of the United States Congress. We would like to think that campaigns end and then you get a little respite, you get a little brief period of relaxation. That's not it, folks. That's not this cycle. And I love this, and I love the way Eric framed this at the beginning. You know, going into the November elections, we go into Democratic rooms and say, isn't this a great time to be a Democrat? And everybody would cheer. And then December and January happened. We'd ask that same question, and there was a little bit of restlessness. Folks, is this a great time to be a Democrat? Look at today's Democratic coalition, today's Democratic Party that's going to save this country from what we're seeing. If you were trying to tear apart the country from within, you would do what Donald Trump has done in the first 65 days of his administration. You would try to wreck the economy, put taxes on consumers, taxes on exporters, get into trade wars, run away from our economic allies. You would break long-standing security alliances with the West that have fought tyranny and kept us safe. And you would suspend federal services to people who need it most. That's how you wreck the country from within. And listen, we all feel the despair. We know the despair, but we've turned despair into action. I'll tell you, whether it's self-therapy, looking in the mirror in the morning, or whether it's political analysis, choose your poison. But I recite to myself often three things: oppose, propose, and prepare. We have a responsibility to oppose what this administration is doing. I disagree with the analysis that says lay down and let Republicans do what they want to do. I'll also say, I think everybody in this room knows we also have to be defined by what we're proposing to the American people. We're bigger than just saying no to Trump. We're actually willing to fight for people. We're willing to say we can be the party that fights to cure childhood cancer and actually fund the research for better. We can be the party that fights for tax cuts for the working class. We can be the party that says maybe not taxing Social Security is a great idea, but how are we going to pay for it? Maybe by rolling back taxes on the rich. We can be the party that say there was an immigration bill offered by conservative Republican Tom Lankford and negotiated with Vice President Harris that everybody agreed to before Donald Trump blew it up. We can be a party that proposes solutions that meet voters where they are right now. And then finally, we prepare, which is what we're doing right now. Listen, these organizations that Eric just mentioned are the organizations that will mobilize, that will activate, that will get voters out in 26 and 28. Many of you, thank you for your kind words. I've said, Eric and I, we see you on MSNBC. Thank you for watching. Some of you have heard me say this. If you haven't watched the last 4 years, you probably saved a lot of money on alcohol or therapy or something. Use that money to give mightily to the Pinellas Democrats, the Florida Democrats. Choose your mobilizing organization to support it. We want to make sure we recognize the electeds that are in the room, and then I'll toss it back to Eric. Many of you have been warriors in this fight for a long time. Thank you. Some of you are probably first-time attendees here. Right? My wife Laura's here. She and I have a 3-year-old and 5-year-old. We took them to their first rally for Vice President Harris in the Villages in November. It was right after the convention, and my wife watched last night, and she came out in the living room and said, "I think I'm a Democrat." And she went online and became Florida Field's Democrat that night. Well, I'm telling you, even yesterday, it had such an impression on our kids at their first time rally. Our 3-year-old was walking around the yard yesterday saying, "We're not going back." For some the first time attending, some have been a long time here. Eric recognized Alex Sink. Thank you for your leadership, Alex. Former CFO, Gouverneur, nominee, Democrat, and Progressive leader. Renee Flowers from the Pinellas County Commission. Here, Safety Harbor, Joe Aiden is here. Councilor Gina Driscoll is here. Former St. Pete Mayor Al Johnson is here. St. Pete's Mayor. This is one I have a lot of fun with. She's no longer in office, but she's served this county for 50 years in the state legislature and on the county commission. Give a welcome to Jen. I'll be the last one for thing. Did you listen to any elections? Because if so, stand up and introduce yourself. I'm not going to create an embarrassing moment. All right. With that, we're going to get back to Eric for lunch.
So actually, Jordy's going to lay out the format here. Most importantly, we want to hear from you. So, Jordy, why don't you tell us how it's going to work? And can we just thank Jordy again?
We only have 65 names. Okay, how's the audio? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Thank you all. Give your guys yourselves a round of applause. I know that the parking was tough. I know that the spacing here is tight, but it's like 4 or 5 days to get there and look what we did. Look what we did. Now, I know many of you, I was born and raised in Pinellas County. This used to be my congressman right here. You never voted. I voted, 9 or 10, but you know what? I'm here now. I'm here now. You know what? You guys are all here now for the same reason, right? Because somebody that we expect to be here is not. And the issues that matter the most to you are not being addressed. I think that's important. My mother still lives in this county, so it still affects me personally, right? Now, I want to make sure we set some guidelines. We just had a town hall like this last weekend, went smoothly. We've got a lot of good Democrats, Republicans, independents, even some people from out of town here today, and we're all going to be very respectful, right? Yeah. I'd like to thank the property manager, Gosha, for opening up this venue with only 4 days notice. As one of the most important guidelines today, look to your left, look to your right. These are your neighbors, okay? We're going to be kind, we're going to be patient, and we are going to be respectful. We're going to take as many questions as possible. We're on a tight deadline. And you know what? We hope that there's more of these opportunities in the future. Many of you could call, email, text, and even show up at Anna Paulina Lou's office. We're going to keep on questioning her to hold meetings yourselves, hopefully at a venue even larger than this one. Okay, so I'll go ahead and bring the mic around to some folks who've got questions. Wow, it's very fast. And we're going to be covering a few very important topics. We're going to be discussing the economy. There's a lot of, I know many of you brought up concerns about budget cuts in DC. We're also going to be talking about Social Security and Medicare and the concerns that are affecting you guys here directly. So I'll go ahead and pass the microphone along as Congressman Swalwell. Please feel free to point out anybody else in the crowd. I volunteer with the microphone, so please. I'd like to be extremely respectful for the folks who came out. Do we have any veterans in the room? Please raise your hand. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. This gentleman here to my right has his hand up. Please feel free to say your first name. No need to say your last name, your zip code, and then go ahead and repeat your question. Thank you.
My name's Al. I'm the Florida State President and representing letter carriers. So this legal veteran from Vietnam. So my question and my gratitude to both of you is for standing up not only for veterans, but we understand that the Postal Service is under attack. Not only because we're a union, but because we are a powerful union that get people out to vote. We were the instrument that got vote by mail in the state of Florida. This is one of the issues that the Trump Association, but I don't even call them a team anymore, they just associated to destroy America. But as far as that, we're not gonna let them, and I agree with Eric 100%. We cannot do anything, but I need your support tomorrow. My question is, help us. Tomorrow we have a rally at Tyrone Square Mall on the corner of 66 to save the United States Postal Service. It's a nationwide demonstration that we are needed and wanted and the most trusted government agency 10 years running. We are the eyes and ears of your community. It starts at 12 o'clock till 2 o'clock. And I just wanted to tell you, thank you for your support for both of these ex-congressmen. David, I've known for a long time. Eric, glad to see you here in Florida. We appreciate all the hard work and don't ever stop helping America.
Thank you. So let me just say to this. You know how you fire up and piss off a senior or a mom? You mess with the prescription drugs that come through the mail, or the baby formula, or the diapers that they need on the porch. You do that, and I don't know if I can help you, if you're gonna mess with that. So we're gonna mobilize and make sure that the Postal Service, which has been making money for the US government because they've been contracting with Amazon and other online retailers, that they don't go away, but we know why they want to take them away. They want it to be privatized so that the wealthiest in America can benefit from it, and also so they can screw with your votes. That's it. That's it. They want to tear down vote by mail because that is our path back. We can't let that happen, and no Democrat should vote for any budget that ever does that. Period.
We have another question here.
Yeah, it's not on. Hi, my name is Lisa, and I want to say for the record, I'm here speaking out against what's happening and no one's paying me to do so, as they like to believe. Sorry, getting a little emotional. I'm engaged in this fight and I feel like I'm doing all that I can, but I get scared on so many levels. I fear that the programs my daughter, who's disabled, and my mom, who depend on, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, I worry that they're going to be cut. My biggest fear, though, is that we will soon be at a point of no return. Like the resistance that's building. Oh, I'm sorry. The resistance that's building will be too late. This administration is dismantling our government at warp speed. We're hoping the courts will hold, but we inch closer to a constitutional crisis each day. My question is, I don't know if we could wait for midterms to undo the damage. Don't know, wait for the midterms to undo the damage. At one point,
Please go on.
At what point do we acknowledge that this administration has gone too far? And what do we do if and when that happens? And speaking of midterms, how do we even know that we'll have a free and fair election?
So I think your question is also on that sign, which says, what's our plan? First and foremost, please, if you are supporting organizations like Democracy Docket or Democracy Forward, they are funding these lawsuits in the courts. And they have put speed bumps on much of the wrecking ball that Musk and Trump have put forward. We can't count on speed bumps ultimately to save us, but in the most recent case that made it to the Supreme Court, we did get a victory, a 5-4 victory on the USAID funding. So we have to keep putting up the speed bumps. And you're going to say to me, he is going to violate, and he is violating court orders. To that, I tell you, we have Democratic attorneys general in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in California, in New York, in Colorado, in Illinois. They need to meet a constitutional crisis with their own constitutional crisis. They are the chief law enforcement officers in their state. They have the power to hold people accountable who do not follow the law. And so we should expect them to start doing that. You're going to break the law, we're going to hold you accountable. Don't come see my indictment in New York. See my indictment in California. That's what the attorneys general should do. They are the chief law enforcement officers. If you don't follow court orders that affect the people in your state, they should step up. And they have the power to do that. And you should expect them to do that. They have that power. The courts, they are run by the Marshal Service. And the Marshal Service is under the executive branch. They can't enforce any of the court orders. I am working in Congress to give the courts their own police, their own security, take it outside of the executive branch. But our attorneys general, they have, as I said, they have to fight this crisis by using the laws that they have. They can do that. What's the plan? April 1, Wisconsin Supreme Court. Folks, let me tell you, why do we care about the Wisconsin Supreme Court? Well, Elon Musk is spending $10 million there, but that's not the reason we care. In Wisconsin, the Republicans have stolen 2 congressional seats from us with the most ugly, despicable gerrymandering you've ever seen. In that state, it's 6 Republicans, 2 Democrats, except you have a Democratic governor, a Democratic lieutenant governor, a Democratic attorney general, a Democratic US senator. This judge would be the tie-breaking vote to give us a shot for those maps to be 4-4. Why does that matter? We're 3 seats short of being in the majority in the House. That gets us 2/3 of the way there. Help the Wisconsin Democrats. Go to WisDems. Sign up to take a shift, to make texts, phone calls, send in $30 so that they can get people out to vote. That seat matters. New Jersey, Virginia, that's in November. We need to win the governorships in those seats because we need, to your point, the electoral infrastructure so we can flip 2 to 3 seats in each state in the midterms, and in 2028 that we have a state where we can even compete and have free and fair elections for the electoral college. And by the way, small victories can build big victories. Just like in sports, momentum is everything. If you win and help us win in Wisconsin, and then we win in Virginia and New Jersey, folks, we are building momentum. We're getting more and more people out to care about this. And also, right now, people like Whitney Fox all over the country in the toughest seats that we have to flip are making a decision about whether or not they want to run for Congress. They know that to win, they're going to have to crawl over glass, walk over coals. Their families are going to be subjected to the worst things imaginable, but they know it's worth it. It's worth it if they can win. And you help us win in Wisconsin, Virginia, and New Jersey. You warm the waters. You make them want to come in. And we get the top tier candidate. No, we need the top tier candidates. We need the top tier candidates to want to run. My promise to you, I am all in to flip the 13th. I am all in to flip the Miami area seat. Hell, I'm all in to flip the Senate seat here. I'll do the work with you. All I'm asking each of you to do, and I'll do it with you, is go one rung higher. Whatever you did in the last election, let's just start right now. Go one rung higher. If you've never gone to a public protest, go tomorrow with this veteran. If you've never made a small contribution, make one in Wisconsin. If you've never signed up to volunteer on a congressional campaign, volunteer for the candidate who's going to help us flip the seat. Just start going one rung higher. I promise you, we will get to the top, we will win these seats, and we'll cut our time in hell in half. Next question.
I want to jump into something really quick here. We have two special congressional elections happening right now. These are long odds for Democrats, but what we are seeing right now is a movement that can conquer long odds. And I think what Eric's speaking to is this. Look, $6 million has been raised for the Democratic candidate in Matt Gaetz' super Republican seat. Things are changing on the ground, and the one thing politicians understand is fear, political fear. When they see votes moving against them, when they see communities moving against them, they respond. And this is what's happening right now in this moment. I'll also tell you something Eric can't tell you. That includes Democratic leadership sometimes changing their decisions. Eric and every single one of his House Democratic colleagues stood up to the Republican budget, and they said no. Forgive me. It got to the Senate, and Chuck Schumer told everybody in this room, "You're wrong, and I'm right, and I'm going to go along." That can't happen, folks. These aren't normal times. This is not a normal budget. This is not a normal president. This is a constitutional crisis. And we have to meet the moment with different tactics. Chuck Schumer basically said, I don't want Democrats to be the story. This is the time for Democrats to be the story, and you're making it the story right now.
All right, let's take our next question, Jordy. Introduce Jordy. Okay. Yeah. Maddie. Thank you. That's a great point. Yes.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for coming, David. Thank you for representing us. My name's Sherry. I am from St. Pete Beach. I lost my home and everything in it, Hurricane Elena. I want you to know that the FEMA people have been remarkable and have saved my life and my family. We simply cannot lose FEMA funding for us and everybody else in this country who needs it. And I want to also point out that it's SBA that works with FEMA, so it's a whole process that needs to be intact in order for us to be back to a whole. We just want to be back to where we were. And I want to just ask if you can help us with that. I know that we have some representatives here who have not supported FEMA. And instead, or I guess we want to put, what's his name, on Mount Rushmore. I guess that's more important than supporting FEMA. But I just want to ask you for your support and what you're going to do.
I'm sorry that happened to you. Can I just, by a show of hands, who else had damage to their home from the hurricane? So just keep your hands up, because I want Anna Paulina Luna to see this, because she supports getting rid of FEMA. She wants FEMA gone, and you are the people who would benefit from that. I'm not going to support anything that gets rid of that. I want more people like Kathy Castor in Congress, who is helping her constituents, and fewer people like Anna Paulina Luna. But what to me is such lunacy, as you would say, is that We know because of climate chaos, we're going to see more and more of these storms. And as you're either being denied insurance or the insurance rates are through the roof, thank you, Governor DeSantis. You expect is that in a crisis, we take care of each other. And I want David to speak to the FEMA question. But I'll tell you this, when I was 11 years old, I came to Florida for the first time. My dad grew up between Florida and California, and it was a family reunion. And it just so happened to be August of 1992. It just so happened that we were there a couple days before Andrew, and we were in Kendall, and had cousins in Homestead. And I remember huddling in a bathtub in the bathroom with my 10-year-old little brother and my father, and we would wake up and we'd see that the entire neighborhood was wiped out. Our Homestead family lost their home. But I saw the country come together. I saw that months later, after George H.W. Bush lost and Bill Clinton came in, he wasn't punitive toward Florida, that the country helped rebuild South Florida through FEMA and other aid. That's what we do, damn it. That's what we do as Americans. In a crisis, we come together. With communities apart.
Hey, thank you. And I also want to point out, we're talking about natural disasters that affect the country, whether it's Tornado Alley in the Midwest or wildfires in the West, or it's hurricanes in Florida. My opinion, I hate the left-right spectrum when you try to nail somebody down on ideology. Here's what I'll tell you. Government exists to fill in where private markets fail. And that could be true about the Postal Service, who is required to deliver universal service to the last mile in Alaska and the most remote areas in the world, that guess what privatization could never accomplish. That's why government has the U.S. Postal Service. Government exists where the healthcare market has failed. There's a reason Pete Buttigieg is complimented for saying, I want Medicare for all who want it, because the private health insurance market has failed. What we know in Florida is the insurance market has failed. I kind of feel like Alex can get up and give us a masterclass or tutorial on this one, but here's what I'll tell you. This is an area where I think Democrats could lead in the state and lead nationally. We need a state catastrophic fund that is capable of absorbing natural disaster risks when storms strike and restoring the private market to just covering non-natural disaster perils. Guess what? I priced our home policy, it would drop by 70%. FEMA provides the immediate emergency needs. And it was wrong for Luna to vote to repeal that or to defund it about 5 days before the storm hit. But we've got to think bigger, folks, as a coalition. We need a state natural disaster fund. We need a national catastrophic fund. It is a clear, most direct way to tackle the affordability crisis here in Florida. And guess what Ron DeSantis and Republicans will tell you? That's socialism. I don't care. It'll take care of Floridians when he's not doing it.
Thank you. Let's get our next question.
Hello, my name is Lisa. I'm from Largo over here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And I just want to say I'm really so happy to hear what everyone is saying. You said, I'm sorry, honey, that this is a crisis. When you say constitutional crisis, to me that sounds very benign. This is an authoritarian takeover of our country. So I don't want to hear constitutional crisis. This is an emergency. And to me, all the things you're mentioning, they sound great in a normal situation. Let's elect people, let's do that. Of course, we're going to do that. But we need to think outside the box. Donald Trump is counting on you thinking inside the box. He's hoping we don't think outside the box and we do the normal things. And I want to say, Eric, are you asking for Chuck Schumer to step down so we can get new leadership in there? AOC needs to be a leader in the House. We need new leadership. And I also want to say, all those problems, Donald Trump is about to defy the courts. He's already done it. Soon he's going to defy the Supreme Court. That's the plan we need. What are we going to do to enforce? And the operative word is enforce the Supreme Court of this land, and we have to think outside the box. Thank you.
Yeah. You showed up today. Who keeps showing up? You're showing fight. My colleagues have to show fight. My colleagues have to show the fight that you're showing. I'm all in. I've got the only lawsuit that's left against Donald Trump. There's only one that's left. It's me and the January 6th cops. That's it. So I testify. I'm the only member who testified in Colorado to keep him off the ballot because he committed insurrection. So yes, I'm all in. But I'm telling you, the divide in our party right now is not left versus center left. It's old tactics versus new tactics. Old tactics ain't cutting it. Old tactics ain't cutting it. What I'm suggesting to you is we need to be more public, we need to be louder, and we need to be everywhere. That will get their attention in the interim, as I said, as we see these speed bumps in the courts and we build toward the midterms, but we can't be quiet. They're counting on us to shrink, they're counting on us to shrink, and they're counting on us to hide under the bed. What we saw in the Senate was shrinking and hiding under the bed. The reason you do not give them longer than 30 days is not to negotiate a bipartisan agreement. That's what Schumer said. He said we should give them at least 30 days so we can negotiate a bipartisan agreement. No, you give them 30 days because you can't trust them. You give them 30 days at a time because you don't trust that they're going to honor the spending that protects us from bird flu, when they get rid of bird flu monitors, firing nuclear scientists, firing FBI agents when we started the year with the terrorist attack, getting rid of CDC scientists as measles rages. I don't trust these guys for longer than 30 days. That process argument was bullshit, and it didn't connect, and it's not the message that we want. We should have been socializing this earlier. And by the way, anyone who said, Democrats, are you willing to shut down the government? Bullshit. They have already shut it down. They already shut it down. We shouldn't have on that. Let's go.
Well, my name is Jean, and I live in St. Petersburg. We can talk about all this distractions that we're getting. I'm getting. Okay, so I'm in trouble, and they're gonna go after me. This is very Nazi, what's going on in our government. And we can't wait to try to fight each individual thing that's going on. And Donald Trump is going right past Congress, right past the Senate. He's not paying attention to the courts. He's just throwing people out of the country and treating them like we're in a Holocaust. I mean, this is big stuff. I mean, he's kissing Putin's ass. All right, he is old. I grew up in New York. All right, I grew up when Donald Trump was big there. Yeah. The mafia, the Italian mafia, didn't want to have anything to do with him because he's a backstabbing, bad businessman. All right, and then he gets elected president, but he gets picked up by Putin. He owes Putin, and he is doing everything that Putin wants him to do. And Ukraine is getting slaughtered. Gaza is having genocide of little children getting blown up because he's with Netanyahu. He is on their side, not on our side. I've never seen this in my 65 years of life. What are we gonna do to stand up and fight for our country, for our Constitution, and for our freedom? What are we gonna do?
We're gonna keep showing up. Let me just say on Ukraine, I had dinner at Columbia Restaurant the other night, a local gem, and a Ukrainian line cook came over to me and Whitney Fox, Whitney and her husband, and thanked us for what we're doing on Ukraine. They see you. They may not express it because they're also worried about being removed from this country, but they see you and they thank you. And I just want to say this on Ukraine. The history of America, the story of America is we do not leave our friends in the fields. And when I visited Ukraine during the war, and I was in a bunker in Kyiv, and generals and soldiers were briefing me on what they were doing, they told me that they say a quiet prayer every night. They know America has their back. And to abandon them like this will do damage that our kids' will have to answer for. We are destroying the credibility that we have with the world. And I just want you to know, have we spent a lot of money on Ukraine? Yes. Do you know where that money has been spent? Here. Do you know who it employed? Here. Americans. And do you know how many Americans have died in Ukraine? No. So you would say the return on investment is infinity because you can't divide by zero. And this moron wants to somehow associate us with a brutal dictator who is kidnapping and torturing children from Ukraine. I'm not going to let that happen. You're not going to let that happen. You're not going to be quiet about that. And we're going to expect that my Democratic colleagues get a hell of a lot louder about it because those are American values. Next question.
Call for a nationwide strike.
My name is Johnny. I'm a gay American. I'm married to a Brazilian, and I have children. Every day, I'm in fear that my kids may be taken over to El Salvador or wherever. And there's no recourse on finding out what's going on with them. Half of those people, they say now, have no conviction whatsoever. My son wants to sign up for the Air Force. We need to protect the kids.
Thank you, Johnny. Johnny, if I can find you when we're done, I'd be happy to just give you my contact information. So that I can help you. Because our... All right. That's all right. She's just got a protest chant. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Hi, my name's Penny. I live in Gulfport. If you know anything about Gulfport, it was completely destroyed by the hurricanes. All of us lost everything there. Thankfully, my husband and I have the resources to come back. And as David does, as Mr. Jolly knows, Florida is an area where we really need NOAA. We really need to have that kind of information given to us. And we're going to lose that somehow and in some way. So I would like to know from the two of you how all of us start showing up and telling them this is not an okay thing to do. Do we show up at NOAA? Do we show up at Lunatic's office? Do we show up at to make sure that we have that information? Because if you've never been through a hurricane, and God, I hope none of you have to say everything in our city is gone. Everything was destroyed. And if they get rid of all of that information for us, we have nothing. So I'm happy, I will go sit on anybody's desk that I need to, but how do we start to let them know that no one needs to play with us?
So I think there's a thread between this question and a community impacted by what essentially is the discretionary budget of the United States. That Chuck Schumer agreed to just go along with Republicans, be funding many of the services. We talk about a constitutional crisis. I like the stronger terms you are using. I often like to point out, though, we have a crisis today, not just because Donald Trump and his malfeasance. He's the bad actor. But we have a crisis because Republicans have rolled over and the Republicans in the House have collapsed. And one of those people is your representative, Anna Polina Luna. We have a constitutional crisis because the Republican Congress refuses to hold Donald Trump accountable and because they go along with the bad priorities and bad decisions. There is no way to fix this without changing who's in control of the House. And this is, listen, my greatest disappointment with what Chuck Schumer did. I understand the political strategy. I disagree with it. I understand the strategy. Don't make Democrats the story. Here's the problem. Eric's lived through a dozen or so of these annual spending bills. Typically, the minority party, in this case, the Democrats, say, well, we went along with it because we got a few wins. We restored funding for NOAA, or we restored funding for FEMA. There were no Democratic wins in this budget. This was a Republican budget that Senate Democrats decided to go along with and has created the problem about discretionary spending and how NOAA is funded. One of the ways you tear apart the country as well is you fire all the experts. The clinical research scientists, the medical research scientists, the people who work with us on weather. I'm telling you, the answer on this is not just being honest about climate resiliency and the need for more climate resiliency, being honest about climate change. It is to recognize that the markets in Florida and California and other places have failed. This is a time for big ideas, and we're not getting big ideas from Anna Polina. It's not what she says. It's not that she goes on a tour with President Biden when he comes here. Watch what she does. She votes against you. She votes against you. Listen, one of the things that she's rightly taken on is that moms in Congress need more maternal leave and to vote by proxy. Some people agree with that. Some people disagree with that. That's a wonderful thing, in my opinion. I'll tell you what's a terrible idea that she's done. Wanting to cut Medicaid, which pays for 41% of births in the country and provides for maternal and early childhood care. That's what she has done. If you want to take care of children, you don't abolish the Department of Education, which provides 25% of funding for Pinellas County schools. She's wrong on this issue. Republicans in Congress are wrong on this issue, and the way to fix it is to elect them.
And we just got an update that Anna Polina Luna cannot be here today. She's chiseling Donald Trump's orange hair into Mount Rushmore right now. So that's just the latest update. Next question. Yeah, please.
Run for governor so we can fix it.
Stuart and say, thank you for that. Thank you for the encouragement. There's no decision yet, okay?
Do you have another question, sir? Yeah.
Stand here.
Hungary, Viktor Orban. What did the people start doing the first day that he was elected? They started protesting. Did it fix it? No, it didn't. It's never going to, Eric. I'm sorry. This 250-year-old democracy experiment is done.
Not done. Not done.
I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I'm not saying don't obey the law. I understand that. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I believe in the rule of law. But I can tell, and there are more people here than you think that believe the same way, that it's done. Donald Trump is a liar, okay? Donald Trump. Okay. Donald Trump is a liar. Donald Trump told us in August that if you vote for me, you will not have to vote again. If there's one thing that Donald Trump does, is he carries out his promises during the campaign. We don't have 2 years, Eric. We have today. We have today, and we have to do it now. I understand what you're saying, but we have to do it now.
And you're doing it. And you know,
Yes.
You're not the only ones. You're not the only ones doing it. Let me tell you. Last night, 33,000 people did the same thing in Denver. If this was the only room doing it, I would be worried. But you're not the only room doing it. You're not alone. There's a long tail now to the effects of what Donald Trump is doing. We didn't march right after the inauguration like we did in 2017. But we are alive now. We are alive now, and we know what we have to do, and we're going to do it.
I just have one suggestion right now, because I know we, the people, are kind of in a bad spot. What can we do? Who is running Donald Trump? The oligarch billionaires. Boycott their business. Their businesses and boycott them starting now. They won't be back in Trump if they're losing money, just like Tesla's trumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, David, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate what this gentleman is saying, but I disagree. I think everyone is here for that reason. I feel that, okay, so 4 weeks ago, last year on May 30th at 1:07 a.m., my mother took her final breath with me watching from Alzheimer's disease. Been a year almost, and I still haven't healed. And the support group around me is wonderful, but 4 weeks ago, this asshole in the Oval Office cut funding to Alzheimer's. And only thing I can think about are the 12 women and the one man in my mom's assisted living facility in the care center she's in, who are now alone. You lose so much with Alzheimer's disease, and you are not, the person who gets it is not the only one who goes through it. Every member of your family has Alzheimer's disease. And I want to know, I respect everything you're saying. I love what you do, and I love what you do. How do we stop this maniac from gutting funding that people desperately need? Alzheimer's patients can't fight for themselves because they don't know where they are. We know where we are. We know who we are. And we know who these two are. Fight!
Thank you, Tom. And they're not alone if we fight for them, but they are alone if their government abandons them. And what I'm hearing from you all is you want to see the fight in me and my colleagues. And so tell my colleagues, keep telling my colleagues, they need to hear from you, and they need to have the same fight that you have all the way to the end of this hell. And we're going to get out of this hell, sir. We're getting out of it. We are linking arms and we're getting out of it. I am not raising a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old in this. And I'm not going to be compliant, and I'm not going to be quiet, and I'm going to do everything I can to get us out of it. And sometimes it's small victories, but those small victories will get us to a big victory. And it's not always voting, it's showing up. And it's not always voting and showing up. Sometimes it's using your wallet, or what you don't use your wallet on, as was just said. There are so many different acts of defiance. And sometimes, as you said, ma'am, it's writing postcards, because that's just what you do, and that makes a difference too. And if we didn't do any of that, of course, we'd be where you are. And if we did just one of those, we probably won't get out of it. But we are doing all of that, because we're all in. And if you're not all in, we are all out of freedom. And Eric, that's it. Yeah, Tom.
We were talking about this before. I was hearing David.
Hello?
Right, Tom's just finished. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, now I'll talk. My name is Mary. Take the microphone.
My name is Mary. I'm from St. Pete. I have a really quick question.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, Eric. You're welcome. When he defies the court again, what is the step to have him removed besides impeachment? He's defying the court. And what is the step? What is the next step to pull him from the presidency? Direct. What is it?
I'm telling you, it's our attorneys general here, the biggest states in America. Their chief law enforcement officers are not powerless. And I have been calling on them, and I think each of you should do the same, to tell us what will they do with their legal authority to hold them accountable. We're a federalist state. We're a federalist country. Yes. 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 I'm telling you, we still have AGs in these biggest states in the country that start telling us what we do with their chief law enforcement authorities. They have the power to indict lawlessness. Yeah. So, like I said, we go one rung even higher in how loud and how ever present we are. But legally, the attorneys general have the ability. Yes. Yes. They have the ability to use their law enforcement powers, and they need to start telling us what are they going to do when he defies an order that affects their state, because they're not powerless. They're not powerless. But, yeah. We're not helpless. We are not helpless. If you're not here because you think you're helpless. So I'm telling you, we're not helpless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In here. We can't hear.
It's impeachment. Of course, it's impeachment, but yeah.
Thank you, folks.
You know what? This is getting Republicans to do their job. You keep doing this. You keep showing up. And we're seeing this in Georgia, in Tennessee, the most conservative. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be very respectful of everyone's time. This is the animated conversation that we should be having. We've got a congressman from California who came out here to do it because our rep won't do it herself, right? I'm going to try and make our way throughout the room with a microphone. I know we see folks in the back. We've got a question here from Arlene. Thank you.
April 5th.
Haven't been ice for 40 years. Gender grandchild and a biracial daughter, and I'm scared shitless. My mother lived to be 104. Do you think her money lasted, that she didn't have to go on Medicaid? I'm 78. I've seen it all. I've been through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, when we Democrats thought we had fixed it.
And you know what we did then? We sat down and we got complacent and we didn't pay attention while our school boards and our commissioners and our mayorship and governorships went right out from under us with the gerrymandering. We need some drastic action, and we need it now. We have 6 months from the experts that say, and if that man's face goes up there on Mount Rushmore.
So Jordy, let me ask you this question. Because like, again, I want to give you wins. Like, I want us to pick fights where we can win, and you can build confidence and we can make change. So Jordy, did everyone here sign up to be in touch with the Pinellas County Democrat? Is everyone here signed up? Okay, Jordy, will you tell them what they can do in the next 10 days to help us win Wisconsin and the 2 congressional seats in Florida? Will you guys direct them?
Super crucial, everyone. I know that you have a lot of anger and you want to direct it in the right place. Calling is one thing. Sure, I used to work in the legislature. I used to have to take a lot of your calls. And I'll tell you this, when you do call, we tally every single time. Economy, affordability, healthcare insurance, of course, the cost of eggs, the cost of groceries, the cost of diapers. That's very important. We tally all of that. But even more effective is Congressional District 1 early voting starts today. Congressional District 6 early voting starts today. If you go to our landing page, I don't mind if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. We've got Democrats out there right now. Our young Dems are mobilizing. All 6 of our chapters on the East Coast are knocking on doors right now. And we even have an entire group of NPA coalitions in the Panhandle that are helping Gabe Almont because she's fighting for veterans. I encourage you all to visit our website. Right there on the landing page is a volunteer hub. If you can't travel, make phone calls. FloridaDems.org. If you can't travel, make phone calls. You can make phone calls, text. If you guys don't want to do it, either one of those things, and you need a little bit of handholding, I've been there. That's where I got my start. There's an app called 5 Calls. 5 Calls. When you leave, there are some papers on the desk with a QR code. It'll send you straight there. If you really care about something, but you just don't know how to word it, they've got a script there for you. If you want the most up-to-date information, maybe there was an executive order 2 weeks ago, but it got worse since then. They've got that article linked at the top for your convenience. And again, speak to your neighbors. This does not change without organizing relationally. We can yell to DC, but that's a lot further than the person who's right next to you. You've got a lot more common than the person in your class, in your neighborhood, in your zip code, than the person who's probably 5 or 6 tax brackets above you, right? So I appreciate all the energy. I'm going to make this microphone loop around the room to the front. We have some ADA folks I'd like to accommodate, but please keep your questions and direct them to the places where they matter. Thank you.
And to your, ma'am, to what you said about some of the failures you've seen, particularly on Social Security or Medicare, here is one critique of our party. We are weak when we are given power. Let's be honest, we are weak. Republicans with the thinnest mandate pass unpopular agenda items. They put abortion bans in place when nobody's asking for abortion bans. Let's not be so weak when we get power again. Because most people that I know say, you know what? You have the White House, the House, and the Senate. Well, I just want to kiss my little girl goodbye in the morning, send her to school, and know she's not going to be in a mass shooting and she'll come home. So why don't you pass background checks when 70% of gun-owning Republicans want background checks? So, bye-bye, filibuster. Let's get rid of the filibuster. Let's put term limits on the Supreme Court. And let's get rid of dirty money and dirty maps in our politics. That seems pretty easy.
We've got another question here, and go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ann. My husband Jeff is here as well. 33767. I got a more boring question on budget issues. Things like the $3 billion we're paying to gas and oil companies for subsidies, carried interest loopholes on hedge funds, military planes, $2 trillion. I don't see anything being done on those. So why isn't DOGE going after those? And then one other thing is, instead of cutting everything, there's no way we can cut enough to get rid of our debt. How about we do things to increase our revenue? Things like raise the maximum taxable earnings of Social Security. Because lower income people are paying a lot more percentage-wise into that than higher income people. And yet the higher income people is going to benefit more during their whole lifetime.
How about we raise the minimum wage also?
Oh, that too, yeah. And then the other thing, I forgot my name, but those are those are things I'd like to address with the budget.
Sure. I'll let colleague Mr. Jolly jump in.
I don't want to get all wonky about the discretionary federal budget because everybody would leave. These are decisions made by the party in control. And this is where I think what Eric and his colleagues did was so important in standing up and saying, we're not going along with this. And as I've expressed, I think the Senate Democrats got it wrong. But I want to link this to the broader conversation, the anxiety in the room, the crisis. We feel it. I feel it. There's a pall. There's a heartbreak. There's a fear. Because we feel like accountability is out of reach. We feel like the Supreme Court is ultimately going to screw us. We feel like Donald Trump is going to continue to interfere in ways that break the Constitution. The Constitution is only so elastic. And we're living through a period where we're feeling it. The heartbreak is real. It's shared. The anxiety is real. It's shared. Around our kitchen table, and I'm sure around yours, we wonder, can we make it through the next 2 years? Are we going to be the nation 2 years from now that we have been in the past? And the fear is no. What we know is we can't resort to anything that Republicans would do. Democrats can't have their January 6th. That's wrong. We can only use the tools we have. And that is where the disappointment comes in. That's where the heartbreak comes in. We feel like accountability is just out of reach. It doesn't soothe those nerves to say we just got to hold on. But holding on and pouring ourselves into a national movement of accountability, which is what this is here. Folks, I shared this earlier. You remember how December and January felt. It was completely hopeless. It was completely hopeless. We felt that way. There was a question about the Florida governor's run. We've been considering it for a long time. We saw the results in Florida in November and thought, there's no way. That was in December and January. It feels very different now in March, doesn't it? Yeah. We are here together because we are participating in a national movement that says, we don't want DOGE cutting services to people while protecting their own deep-pocketed donors. We don't want billionaires running the country. Frankly, we want Democrats running the country. What we have to do, and God bless Eric for being here and being a voice, knowing that it's not. I'm sorry, folks. We've got to hold on and get through the next 2 years, but we're not going to get through it if we lay down and give it. We get through it by fighting like hell. That's what this guy's doing. And that's what they're doing.
Hold on and hold each other, right? Hold on and hold each other. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie. Is this working? Awesome. Right. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie. Most of you know me because I worked on the Whitney Fox for Congress campaign. I hear what everybody is saying. What are you doing now? Let me tell you, we're working on local elections. I'm a Gen Z that works with other Gen Zs on local elections. And let me tell you something. We just had an election in Oldsmar and Anna Polina Luna endorsed the person that I campaign against. And we won. Yeah. So don't tell me that we're not giving anything. Don't tell me that we're not winning. It starts at local levels and then we have to go from there. My best advice is to keep doing what you're doing. Participate in elections, go to town halls and talk to your friends and your neighbors. I'm talking to people my age every single day who are so confused in this political climate, and I'm giving them the educational resources to better themselves so they understand this political climate. That's all I have to say. So thank you, guys.
Okay, let's see another question. Go ahead.
I'll get that right back.
My name is Freda and I'm from 33763. And I have all the fears that everybody else has. But my big fear is that I remember that during Black Lives Matter, how Trump wanted to shoot everybody on the street. So what are you gonna do when he puts the military on the street to quiet us, to shut us up at every town hall? Yes, he will do it. And then what do we do?
There are more of you and me and us than them. We're not gonna let that happen. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting that happen. I think every parent has a lot of regrets, decisions they made parenting. I only have one, which is I allowed my son to be a Yankees fan. But he is the cutest, smartest thing. So I welcome my boy Nelson, who's with us. And you can see he's going to the Yankees game with me today. Next question, and Maddie, I don't know.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
First of all, thank you both for being here. My father was an Iwo Jima Marine, started the first union at Candy Clark Company, board chairman of the Democratic Party, head of political action. I grew up in politics. I think what we're looking for is unity, and I think we're looking for a leader, for direction. You want me up there April 5th, great, where's the bus? Because I'm 3 days away. There is no coordination. We have different groups, protest here. I'd love to protest every day, but I have to work too. We need a leader, we need direction, and we need you guys. For example, Musk should be being sued, taking all my information, my husband and everybody here. I want a lawsuit, actually what I want Democrats to do, since the Republicans did the 1 day thing for the whole rest of the year, so he can't mess with his terrorists, then you should only get paid for 1 day. We need to be funny, ruthless, and mean. I mean, I'm not asking to be anarchy, but I'm asking put a thorn in their side, make their life difficult, and I just don't feel that. I don't think going up to the Department of Education, you're gonna walk in and one guy's standing like this, oh, we can't bust through when you got like 500 people behind you. We need anger, and we're not seeing it, and I'm exhausted. It just infuriates me. And that's all we're asking, direct us.
You're great. You have all directed yourselves here, but you need leadership. You need leadership, and I will tell you the first sign of leadership that I've seen from our party has been in the last couple of weeks when a few of us were going out. I've been in the St. Louis suburbs. I was in Boise a couple weeks ago. I was in the Denver suburbs 2 weeks ago, and Jasmine Crockett has been out there. Obviously, AOC and Bernie are out there. But this is the first event this is the first weekend where I've seen the Democratic Party, and credit to Ken Martin, our new chair. When I told Ken I was doing this, he said, let me do everything I can to work with Nikki Fried here in Florida, and credit to Nikki. They helped us promote this. They helped us find the site with 5 days notice. And they are now standing up, building the plane as we're flying, so to speak, how we can do this every week, everywhere. And I agree with you, yes, you should have a bus that's sending you to Washington, and organizationally, like, yeah. But you know what, and I was happy to pay and work with the local party, to make this happen. And my colleagues, by the end of this, we should have no money in our war chest. we should spend as zero. If any of us have a single penny left on November 4th, 2026, we did it wrong. Because we should be investing everything we have to make sure that we save our democracy. And to your point, I said we're weak with power. We're also too nice. And we're too virtuous. And we think that we're trying to win a Harvard Law School moot court competition when we're just trying to win a gut check at the bus stop or the bar room. That's what this is about. We don't elect policies, we elect people. And we need to start telling a better story. We need to start telling a better story.
Hi, my name is Gloria. I'm from Largo, 33778. And love the comments. And one thing we talk at our house, and we were wondering, what does Putin have on Trump? And we need to hear that in wherever you guys go, I think we need to hear it. You guys feel the same way? Because we know a lot of money is involved, and we know Putin is very smart, very clever. He's got Trump under some kind of spell, and we need to know, ask him, what does he have over you? Why are you selling this country out? And not only him, you bring someone in from South Africa is doing the same thing with all his money. So, but I want to know what Putin have, what you got over him?
Well, I have a follow-up question. What does Putin have on Trump, and what do we get out of it? Because I don't see us getting anything out of whatever this relationship is supposed to be. But I just want to tell you folks, in the history of dictators, they never have a succession plan. They never have a succession plan. And that is what fires me up every day, because they either die in office or they're thrown out. And they will create the electoral infrastructure where there are no longer free and fair elections. We are no longer slipping into a dictatorship. We are in a damn dictatorship. That's what we are in. And so what we have to do is fight every day to have the electoral infrastructure so that we can get him out. That's why 10 days help us win that Wisconsin seat. That's 2/3 of the way there to winning the majority in the House. So please, who here will text, make a call, or send $1 to Wisconsin in the next 10 days? Keep your hands up. Can we get a picture of that? Because I'm going to come back and check on all of you, make sure you did. Okay, Wisconsin, we're all in. Okay, next question.
Hi, I'm Tracy, 33703. Thank you both for being here. My question, I have two questions. They'll be fast. Representative Swalwell, my question to you, Representative Swalwell, is that what are your colleagues doing? Why aren't they all out? Why aren't all of the representatives?
Uh-oh, lost the battery.
I can hear you. My colleagues are not out today. They sure as hell better be out tomorrow,
Hey, you got battery?
right? Today proves that
You got battery?
you will show up.
One
You
of the-
have
one of
proved
the,
that. One of my rules
One of these.
for messaging that I have learned is always be on.
Yes.
Always be on. We have learned the hard way that you cannot rely on vertical media. We can't just go to CNN and MSNBC when Fox News has an audience that is 3 times their audience combined. We have to go on Fox News, but more than that, after the 2024 election, I read a Pew Research report that said 68% of Americans who voted in one way or another identify as Christian. You know what I did? I told my staff, find me the top 20 Christian podcasts, put me on them every single week. I'm Christian. I'm not letting you define my faith. So we have to be everywhere, always on.
Next question. I will see you in Washington on April 5th. You come to Washington, I'll see you there.
And I'm from Trinity 34655. I actually have more of a comment and a
Thank you, Ann.
suggestion.
Yeah.
I think it would be very beneficial for the American public to be made aware of everything that our government does for them. And I think that 6 or more progressive Democrats every day, 5:30, 6 o'clock, in a press conference regarding everything, the Doge and what they've taken away from you for previous day. I think that the average American has no idea from the time they purchase an airline ticket to the time they get to their destination, everything that government has done from them. And so I think that informing people is the way to go. And I think that that will also help down the road because then people will understand what their tax dollars are actually doing for them.
Yes, and there's no shortage of Dem Avengers who can go out and do that. Yeah, as a group. And I have to say, I am so excited and inspired by so many of the newer members who have really stepped up, like Robert Garcia, Maxwell Frost, Jared Moskowitz in Fort Lauderdale. You've got this new group of Avengers, and they're fearless. And they're not held back by the 20th century way of taking on these fights. And I'm convinced that they're going to get us out. And I'll take that back because I agree with you. We can't do it the same way. Another question from a veteran. You're not just a veteran, but if that's all you did, as they say in Hamilton, that would be enough. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. I've done some. Good morning, Congressman. I'm Yuri Timoshenko. I'm a Marine veteran. In my 25 years of being deployed to different spots like Iraq, Afghanistan, one lesson I learned is, the evil will prevail when good people do nothing. And to my shock, I woke up today and saw President Trump envoy Witkoff is stating that he's recognizing Russian gunpoint referendums on occupied territories. Ukrainian occupied territories currently occupied by Russians. Those areas where kids are getting stolen, kids are getting re-educated, get thrown in the paramilitary organizations. I'm also Ukrainian. I have friends who are from those areas who supposedly pro-Russian, who are so in love in Russia, they slay Russians to get back to their homes, where their grandparents, where their mothers are currently under Russian occupation. And it's, it's a more like a request, and it's a request should be as simple as the truth itself. I know right now there's a bipartisan bill going through the House resolution, and I think the Republican co-sponsor of it is Fitzpatrick. So I'm asking if you could please co-sponsor that bill and push and reach out across the aisle, because that bill is just going to reinforce that Congress exercising the power of the purse will not recognize any of the territories currently occupied by Russia. Thank you.
Yeah, hang on it. Brady.
Can you hear me now? Yes. We got batteries.
You got power. You have battery.
Yeah, you guys, honestly, you guys put the battery in my back. This is extremely energizing. Let me get a show of hands for the folks who still have questions. Look around the room. We've got hundreds of people out here today, okay? We don't have time for a ton of questions, but we do have people who are here to help you, to get activated, to answer those questions locally if you can. And I'd really like to thank the volunteers. Please, a round of applause for our volunteers today.
David and I are gonna stick around this week. Head out, and I wanna talk to you on the way out. I'll let David go first, actually, for wrap, and I'll give you our final word.
Thank you all very much for being here, for doing it. You're here because you love your country, you love your state. Eric Swalwell's here for the same reason. And also to catch you again. But Nelson, is that right? Nelson, nice to meet you. All right, I got it, for baseball fans or spring training fans, I got a baseball analogy for you that I discovered in my time in Congress. I described Congress as this. Every day I woke up and it felt like spring training. And our team could win the pennant. By the time I went to bed, it felt like August and we were 30 games back. But you know what? I woke up the next morning and it felt like spring training all over again. That's the cycle we're in right now. We wake up with the energy to come out here and to fight the fight to save the country we love. Eric Swalwell crosses the United States every week because he cares about the country and he wants to fight for the country that we love. Promise you, I promise you, with this mobilization, this energy, we are running a campaign that in 26 is going to bring accountability to the state of Florida, but also to the United States of America. This right here across the country is what's going to change the country. This is it. It feels terrible. But I promise you, we've turned our anxiety into action. We're going to win this thing, and we're going to survive this.
Yes.
David Jolly, folks. The decision we all wanted to make. So I hear you. I hear you. And so many of you are essentially asking, when you have a sign that says, what's the plan? Where you tell me, where's the bus? You're thinking about what happened on January 6th because you saw what 15,000 people who were brainwashed by Donald Trump, what they were willing to do when they believed an election was stolen from you. You saw what they were willing to do. And you're asking your leaders, well, if they're willing to be so violent for something they were brainwashed to believe, what are you willing to do? Let me tell you what I saw on January 6th. I saw police officers who weren't even supposed to be working that day, rushed to the Capitol, who voted for Donald Trump just a couple months before, and they put on body armor. They put on their gas masks. They were beaten with Confederate flags. They had bear mace put in their face, a cattle prod put in their neck, as rioters were armed to the teeth to try and take them out. And they stood up and they showed bravery and they defended the Capitol. They beat back those cowards. And we certified the election. And so what I'm telling you, as spring training for our democracy begins, for us to have the end of the game look like the celebration, accountability, redemption, rebirth we want it to look like, you don't have to put on the same body armor or same police equipment that Mike Fanone and Harry Dunn and Sergeant Cannell and Danny Hodges put on. You don't have to do that for your democracy. They did it for us. But if you show the same passion and vigor and integrity and love for our country that they showed that day, I promise you, we are winning and we are finding our way out of this hell. I'm all in. You're all in. Pinellas, we are sending her to Mount Rushmore. And we're going to get a real representative. Thank you so much, Pinellas County. Thank you, David Jolly. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Everybody, please hold your places. We would love to recognize all the people coming out with a group photo, so please, for the folks in seats, sit so we can see the folks in the back. If we could have our gracious speakers right here in the aisle. Nelson, our superstar. Round of applause for Nelson. Not for the Yankees, not for the Yankees. We're gonna do a chant here. I'm gonna count you folks down. Who was talking about getting media coverage? Let me see how bad you guys want that media coverage, okay? Can we get a where's Luna? 1, 2, 3. Thank you all. Thank you. Please keep your seats. We're going to try and get some folks out here in orderly fashion. We have plenty of people here with ADA accountabilities that we don't want to rush. And we've got our police officers here for your public safety. Thank you all.
Folks for coming. I got a question, I think, Deborah something, I don't know if I can hear you, but, yeah, if you wanna say something or just sit on the chair. Get the truck. No, I'm not trying to go, how far away is it? Is? I mean, is that, you know, where I showed where we go in the dance, it's a big part of it. Deborah, can you hear me? We have 1,000 people, there's only like, we are getting fined for that. We have 500 times.
We're working on it. We don't need to, we're gonna do, not always executive. We're gonna have.
Getting lots of questions, huh?
And the other county. I don't find
Eric's analogy about us being too nice.